Alright, I got my ram air ducts mounted into place on this fairing. You've got to fit them into the frame with the rubber mounts. I hung them from the frame and then spread the fairing and started going on with it. And of course I bumped them and they fell out, so I've had to keep lifting them up, putting them back into place. Really, if you just got them in this channel inside and you lift it up and get it close, then you can reach up with your hand and start plugging them into the holes on the back of this frame. Once you get real close, then you're going to have to start making sure you're in here, then putting it up into place here to where the ram air goes on the inside, on the outside of this inner lip of the fairing. You can see mine are really tight. I mean, you can't even move them around. The rubber here actually had to be compressed a little bit just to get my bolts that I originally drilled back on there, but it worked out great. You do run into a problem though when you go to start mounting these holes. These fiberglass fairings, unless you're using something aftermarket, these fiberglass fairings do not give you any mounting holes for those ram air ducts on your fairing. So what I had to do is use the stock clips that came on the stock fairing, and I'm wanting to fasten them here onto the top of that ram air duct. So this is blind behind here, so there's no way of knowing where that's going to line up. You can stick your finger in there and feel that hole in the ram air duct, but there's no way of knowing where you're supposed to drill your hole in the top, and there's no way of taking it off. You take all this off and try to plug that into the front of the fairing and then determine where the hole is. You're going to drill a hole, and then it's going to be off from the hole in the frame. It's not going to be right. At least you'd have to get real lucky to be able to hit it. So I came up with an idea. I took a feeler gauge blade, and one that has the hole that, where you slide your feeler gauges out. There's a hole in the end of that. What I did is I took a 4mm screw and the aluminum end off of a spark plug that has where the cap pops on, and I cut that down. I clipped it down with a pair of diagonal cutters, and I screwed this onto that hole. Then I took it back off, mashed this over, and drilled a hole in this side. So these two holes lined up. Then I put my tip of the spark plug back in there with a 4mm, and what I do now is I'll slide this over, and this end here will go into the hole on the ram air duct. And then you already know this top hole lines up, so if you reach in there, you can drop it into the hole. You can hear it there, it's dropped in. You can actually almost see it down in the hole. Then I mash down where it's going to be, and I use a magic marker, and I mark that hole, the outer hole. Then I take it back off, put it on the other side, put it in the hole, mash it down, and put another mark on the other side. Then I took small drill bits, drilled the center hole right where the magic marker dot was. And if you go over to your stock fairing, the holes that those clips went into, get a drill bit that fits those holes nice and tight. Get a hole drilled that fits that nice and tight, and then you know your factory clips are going to go in there without any kind of problems. So went back over after I drilled the small hole and opened this up to the drill bit I needed. And now when I'm finished, I can push this down where it touches, push my clip into place, and that's where it's going to go. Pop the center cap in. Then when I go back on, I'll pop these on, slide it back on, everything should be good. I don't know if the 700 or the 750 or the 600 has a specific fairing for that bike, or if they're trying to use a bigger fairing set for those bikes. I really don't know, but it did work out on mine. And a lot of the indentions that they give you on the bodyworks, like this one here, there's an indention here that you would assume goes to one of your holes on your fairing mount for where your initial mirrors went. Well, here's the top hole, and here's the bottom hole. That's a good solid inch away from where it needs to be. If I'd have just drilled these things right when I got them out of the box, I'd have all kinds of problems. I'd be having to try to fiberglass all this back in and then go back and re-drill holes. Because I've got the 8mm that I'm using the top bolt on the original mainframe, using the top bolt that your mirror bolted into, and I went through the inside, put a mark on with a marker, took the fairing back off, and drilled the holes. That way now those bolts go right through on both sides, and I can put a washer on the back side. I've already got the rubber on the inside that the original fairing went up against the mainframe, glued those on. So once you've got that, using that for your center point and this for your center point, these air ducts should fit. If you've done it any other way, I don't know, because I didn't go that route. Anyway, leave any comments. Thanks.